On today's Minute of the Apes, Spider-Man, tell me a joke.
Okay, I am finally ready to tell you that joke. I've been practicing in the mirror for like an hour now, so here goes. So, a cow and a sheep go to the barber's office. Barbershop. No, let me start that over. A cow and a sheep walk into a barbershop. The sheep sits in the chair and says, "My friend the cow is just here for moral support." And, alright, so that was the punchline. Forget it, I'm out of here.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, a daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies and let Spider-Man tell us jokes from his nether regions.
I'm going to go with belly button.
The speaker is coming out of his
If this was a
belly button.
The doughboy or whatever, if you poke there, you poke him in his belly button. Right?
If that's mean, you poke me there. I'm buying you dinner.
Y'all have about the same size junk.
I didn't say we didn't.
Whoa!
So, of course, Sean knows firsthand.
This video podcast is going very well, isn't it?
So, Sean, tell our listeners what that was that told us the joke.
Oh,
so
that
they know.
was that's the Sphero Spider-Man toy that I got for like. Oh,
there he talked.
I put him down hard, so he said something. If I put him upside down. See?
I'm still stuck on his junk, so every time we say something, I'm like...
So, as long as I've known Sean, and I'm sure Richard's had the same thing, Sean loves his toys.
I love crappy...
And he comes up here with this and who made the R2-D2?
Yeah.
Who made that?
Sphero made both these.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Cute little toys. And so we were like, how are we going to do the tease? And he said, let's let Spider-Man do it.
Yeah.
So I was at a convention, and there was a guy running around entertaining kids in a Spider-Man costume. It's kind of his charity thing. And I'm like, dude, put on a dance belt.
Oh, really?
Like, it was just on display. It wasn't like intentionally and trying to be like salacious or anything like that, but it was on display. He like decided to do a handstand beside me and my friend, and I'm like,
right in your face.
All I'm doing is pointing his junk. He was pointing at his junk, and it's like, all right, Spider-Man's crotch is right in my face. Why are you doing this, dude?
Okay.
I don't think he was aware. He was just clueless.
Please.
Nah, he knew what he was doing.
He knew it was flapping around. He knew what was going on.
That is why Superman wears his underwear on the outside.
There you go.
Hey, that is the end of this minute. We've now answered that very pertinent question.
That is my new headcanon.
What?
Headcanon. It's the canon for something that I keep in my head that's not official. It's just, I'm going to tell myself that's why Superman wears his...
I'd never heard that one before.
I hadn't either, no.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one educated.
I'm still stuck on junk.
Okay, so we're on minute 12. Let's get away from Spider-Man's junk. Sean, tell us what's going on with minute 12.
All right, we're going to start minute 12 with a new ape saying, "And Earth will be destroyed," and ends with someone saying, "The driver gave me this report from the airbase."
All right, here comes minute 12 of Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
And Earth will be destroyed just as we saw it. Only since seeing it, we have passed through a backward disturbance in time. Did you notice the date meter clicking down after the shockwave hit our ship? Yes. We returned to Earth nearly 2,000 years before its destruction. That is another reason for us to keep silent. Our human captors will not be edified to learn that one day their world will crack like an egg and burn to a cinder because of an ape war of regression. Apes, at this instant in time, cannot yet talk. For the moment, we should follow their example.
Oh, the driver gave me this report from the airbase.
All right, as of minute 12, we have a planet's worth of humans plus 3 apes.
All right, so we are in the audience-splaining moment 100%. And so now we get Sal Minio's character pretty much explaining how we are and why we are in this very movie.
I like the fact that they reference the clock counting backwards and the date meter. Remember
that we saw coming in on the planet?
But did we see it at the opening credits? No, was that
not in this one?
It was
the first Planet of the Apes. We saw the chronometer,
but it was supposed to be a part of that opening scene that was cut out. We were supposed to see two clocks, current time and Earth time, I think, or what the clock meter was.
Right.
So when he's referencing this would have been a scene that we would have seen earlier on, and maybe they had to modify this to add that in there so that since we didn't actually see it, I like the fact that we are explaining to the audience what's happened so we can follow what happened. I mean, I think you would assume. I mean, how about this? If you're familiar with sci-fi concepts, you would know where they are. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with sci-fi concepts and you might not be in 1971, this might be like I understand. They're not in an alternate Earth, which I guess is another sci-fi concept or another dimension.
They're in past Earth. They didn't travel future in time. They traveled back in time. It is confirmation back in time.
I mean, we saw the Earth destroyed, and the Earth will be destroyed. We're definitely setting the end of the second movie was canon. That they didn't just blow up part of New York.
Yeah, that they ended.
Yeah, they ended the end of the planet.
Saying that the Earth cracked like an egg or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess back then you really did think that atomic bombs would completely break it apart.
Yeah, like one bomb would cause the Earth to literally split in two or whatever. Yeah.
I guess. I mean, now we do. Now we have fantasies about nuclear winter and desert and all sorts of things because of the contamination. Then they maybe thought, it's all done. We're over.
I admit to when I was a kid, I think I said this in an episode before. I remember thinking that when you did it, there was a boom, like the Death Star, it would explode. I didn't know it, so I guess in 71, that's the concept we had. So we can't really fault him for that.
Well, we also don't know the technology. They have the ability to create a spacecraft like that can go to go out in space. It was supposed to be like potentially a colonizing mission or a fact finding mission.
Yeah,
they were never going to come back in time to they were going to be old when they got. Anyway.
Yeah.
And the idea that maybe at this point they have an actual bomb that could do that.
So I know we listened to it the first minute. Can you read again some of his explanations?
Yeah. So he says, and the Earth will be destroyed just as we saw it. Only since seeing it, we have passed through a backward disturbance in the time. What's that? The Heisling curve? Heisling curve. Did you notice the date meter clicking down after the shockwave hit our ship? And I don't know if that's the shockwave of the Earth explosion. I assume that's what it is. Not the Heisling curve initially.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming the shockwave was not meant to affect the original ship. So how did it affect this ship to make it go backwards in time? That's so confusing.
Unless it accelerated the ship to the point that it reached the curve. I mean, maybe the explosion accelerated. This is totally physics and it's not real physics. I'm just making it up. They are too.
It's funny physics.
But yeah, and we returned to Earth almost 2,000 years before its destruction. And assuming that's why he's mentioning the date meter, right? He's letting us know 2,000 years before. That is another reason for keeping our silence. Our human captors would not be edified to know that one day their world will crack like an egg and burn to a cinder because of an ape war of aggression.
To which I say, those mutants were pretty trigger happy as well. Let's not put it all on the apes.
But he doesn't have that knowledge.
Oh,
right,
that's true,
correct.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
That's
the only knowledge they have is having watched the army march away to do something, and this occurs.
Okay, so we're talking chimpanzees. Mm-hmm. They're already frustrated with the seizing of power by the gorillas.
Okay.
So they're already put off on gorillas. So for him, the ape war of aggression is about the march to that moment and the destruction of Earth. So he may not know what they encountered, but he was definitely there for that hostile stuff that he thought would have led to something. Whatever they were going to, he could probably fantasize about.
Which is an interesting perspective that I don't think they intend in this moment, but I've always found it very interesting. In fact, the musical Hamilton touches on this, that the victor gets to write the history. Yeah. Their perspective, whether it be complete or accurate, is what history says. So in this very instance, we have that same thing. They don't know the entirety of the conflict. It's only he is telling the history according to him, and therefore it becomes the gospel what they live by. Right?
Right. I mean, can you imagine, Zira and Cornelius, the unnamed ape, is giving his theory about where they are, what's going on, and just this idea that, oh shit, I've traveled back in time 2,000 years. My future is now destroyed. What is my life going to be like? I'm here in this cage, and he even goes on. Whatever he says, the script destruction. The script destruction.
Right, take three.
Script destruction.
Right,
wait, oh my God.
Hey,
okay,
I did it wrong.
Hang on. Take a breath. Go.
The script description.
There it is.
Says his low tones have become just emphatic enough to disturb the gorilla in the next cage. So gorilla, when he says the ape war of aggression and we have the gorilla appropriately respond and kind of get crazy, like he seems to understand what's going on, that moment where he just kind of riles up and rattles the cage and
right.
You know, he doesn't beat his chest, but he might as well beat his chest. And then kind of calms back down. I feel like there was in this particular moment, there was kind of a lack of tension that could have been delivered with the ape in the other cage.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was just interrupting what Ape was saying as opposed to responding to what Ape was saying.
Right.
And I wanted to see more of a kind of response, because then it gives the ape the ability, unknown chimpanzee, to finish with, apes at this instant in time cannot yet talk. For the moment, we should follow their example. So the gorilla is being used as an example of aggression and also the fact that they are not intelligent at this point. And he discerns that based upon the gorilla in the next cage, we assume.
But this whole moment outside of, with one exception, this whole moment is an exact echo of Taylor finding that he is forward in time, that he is this person, that he is amongst people that are lesser. Now, he can't speak. That is the one exception. We don't get this verbally through him. But these ideas are the exact same stuff when he's in a cage and he's finding this kind of thing out. So it's the flip of itself. I sit here and think that's both brilliant and is it at the same time a little bit lazy?
I'm going to go with a little bit lazy. That's what I'm going to go with, because it literally is just flipping the script. But actually what it is you're just writing a story about chimps now, but they can just talk. That's really the only difference that it would be.
And I say that, and I think the reason I even ask, is it lazy? Because anytime I just have this natural tendency when I go, God, that's brilliant. And I go, or is it crap? I just have that in me, and that's my own fault. And so when I look at this, and that's immediately why I think, is it lazy? I think it's a little of both. Mm-hmm. I think it's fun to play with the concept again, and I think it makes it somehow fresh. But I agree with you. There's a little tension missing in this. And I didn't know if it was from that he's just explaining the world to us and no one's interacting with him and countering it. I didn't know where the tension was missing, but I think you may be right.
They needed the gorilla to directly respond. Yeah. The gorilla in the cage that riles up. I needed to know intentionally that that's what he's reacting to.
Because Taylor had all the humans that were, reaching out for sugar cubes and whatnot. He had them. There's none of that in this movie.
Well, and we're not even
the gorilla's problem is he's depressed, right?
That's true.
I mean,
that's right. They said he's a depressed gorilla.
Yeah, he's not sick. He's just sad.
He hears this. We're given an indication that maybe he has some intelligence because he's responding to something. Mm-hmm. It says his low tones have become emphatic enough to disturb him, right? But I didn't get that tension. What I'm kind of fascinated about is we now have where they are. I mean, we guessed. I assume we guessed as an audience what's going on. But there's just this kind of this moment for me as potentially Zero or Cornelius, or even as an audience member. This delivery of what we now know is now this kind of fatalistic view of what we can now do in this reality. And as Zero and Cornelius and this unnamed character, I would be wholly depressed about the idea that my entire future is gone. Sure, I saw it blow up on a rocket ship.
Yeah.
But now I'm stuck at this moment with no access to
a way
family,
to get back,
friends,
even if I wanted to. Yeah.
Way to get back. Anything
but those
like
are
that.
The conversations that Taylor and all his astronauts had.
They had them as well, but it's just.
But that was their plan. They knew they were going into the future.
Sure.
They were ready for that.
Okay, but what did they know? What did our apes know when they got in this thing? Okay, why did you get on in it? Because you thought you needed to escape.
But why were they escaping before they knew there was an issue? Yeah,
because they were sick of the gorillas, and
That's an idea. The fact that they were trying to either use technology or find some way to overcome the gorilla control command in their city, and that's what they were in the civilization, and that's what they were doing. This rocket ship could have provided them technology or a weapon or the means to do what they need to do with the gorillas. Maybe that's why they were in the rocket ship to begin with.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the unnamed ape is saying that apes don't talk in this time. Well, apes also don't wear clothing, use silverware, and sit and
have perfect little bob haircuts on the women.
So I think the cat's out of the bag that you're not apes from this time.
Well, I mean, and that's I know we talked about it, but I'm just surprised at how dumb the humans are to not go, These chimps sure are
There's something
tall.
different about them.
Yeah, there's something unusual about these chimps.
I don't know what I can't